Like my wife looks up all of the like the worst negative things in the world. And I literally, bro, I said last night we were eating dinner and she's telling me about this miserable experience. Like this man just got ripped up by a pit bull. I mean, like
Oh shit.
disgustingly. And she's just telling me the story in like vast detail. And I'm eating my food and I realize, I'm like, you do realize one negative thought takes 5 positive thoughts or 5 to 6 positive thoughts to replace that negative thought. And I said that to myself. So I put my food down. I went and I sat on her and I grabbed her face and I told her, I'm like, I just want to let you know I love you so much, but you are bringing a lot of negativity to your psyche right now. And I know that that's going to cause domino effect of negativity down the road in other conversations. And I just want to let you know, like, do me a favor and look up what amazingly positive things have happened in the world today alongside that negative one. I just need to know that you're balancing out these banters of conversations that you're having in your head because I know what it'll do later. You know, I just want to make sure you're taking care of yourself because I even said it to her. I was like, I don't want one thing to ever happen in my life on the stories you've told me in the last week. I pray that they never even like come into the existence of my network family or anyone I've ever encountered. I'm like, tell me something that I can hope for. Tell me something that I might want in my life because negativity is just not one of them. And it's again, it goes down to like, I don't know why a lot of women like to listen to murder podcasts. Wild. Dude, if you watch and listen, like you see who's listening to this shit.
It's predominantly women.
Predominantly.
Yeah. Weird.
Dude, my wife puts that on when she's cooking every night.
No way.
Every night,
No
dude.
way. I want the wolf pack to really extract the importance of what you said and the message of what you said, because we all know who Jim Rohn is, at least if you're in the personal self-development. And he said, you're like the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
You know, whether he said that in the 1970s or 1990s, I think it was first published in the early 2000s. That has impacted and made a ripple effect through the self-improvement and self-help world. But even that is antiquated. Now that in 2023, you're not like the 5 people you spend time with. You're now like the 5 people you spend time with. You're like the 5 books you spend the most time with. You're like the 5 podcasts you spend the most time with. You're like the 5 TV shows you spend the most time with. You're like the 5 social media posts that you spend the most time with. And now with all this varied, like, you know, social media content, you are just the algorithm is just reserving you over and over and over in doses of 15 to 60 seconds, whatever message and whatever you're resonating with the most. And most of our minds and psyches, due to, I don't know, evolution or how God intended, they skew negative for survival, to ensure the survival of our lives. So after a certain period of time, you'll see most of that content skews negative. So that's like the newer version of what you're saying, which is so important, so profound.
It really is. Like I've done it. Like I've every time I say something negative, I have this routine now with my wife. We've been doing it since we started dating 3.5 years ago. We say 3 words of gratitude before you eat anything. That's it. And it could be like the sun, this podcast, and your daughter. Because those are the first 3 things I thought of. Like I am grateful for them because they're in my stream of psyche. Like those are just things that, and we've done it every meal, focusing on positive things, right? And so it's a way to look at, like, you know, yesterday my dad died. So it's like my 3 things that I was grateful for were the 3 things he left me with, right? Charm, you know, psyche, because he's a really smart dude. And then the other one was experiences. So it's like there's always another side of the coin, right? Like it's like I always think of like all emotions are they're of the same frequency, but depending on where you read it, right? So it's like if there's a vibration of love and hate, it's where are you looking at that string at that time, right? But I really do believe that they all hold the same effects, or they have the same hormonal releases on the body. And it's really just how your perspective's held on them. Because if you hate somebody truly, is because they're on the other side of it, you can love them truly. Anyone you do hate, there is the capacity to love because it's on that same vibration. Yeah, it's on that same line. And And that just it's the same thing with positivity and negativity. Like it's up and down, right? It's the duality of existence. It's really understanding that anything that is negative, like, well, there is another side to that too. Like, where can we see the positive? What can we learn from it? And I guess that's one thing I want to make sure that everyone understands when it comes to like your partners or your relationships. It's like they have to get it out. Like it's in their brain, first of all, but that doesn't mean that you have to like knock them for it. You just find a way to spin it to the advantage for the whole. And I think that's I mean, it's difficult in relationships. It's a lot of compromise.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm just trying to imagine. I'm trying to imagine Shelly listening to murder podcasts while she's cooking. There's no way. Turn that shit off. Yesterday, don't put that shit on in my house.
Yeah, again, compromise is the key to relationships. That's what I've learned. And my wife loves murder podcasts. You know what? I even humor her on some car rides. I'll be like, hey, we get, my kind of nonfiction, knowledge-based book. In between, we'll listen to a murder podcast. And she's down. So now our rides are me learning to stay off dark roads in a country, like a countryside area, so you don't get picked up or just blunged over the head. And it's wild. Like, yesterday she said a lady sold real estate. Like, she was a media mogul. She got chopped up by
Wait,
her.
real estate or media mogul?
So she's a media mogul with
Real
like
estate?
this really nice real estate
Okay.
in Southeast Asia. And she got chopped up by her ex-fiance and his dad.
Damn.
Chopped up. Like, she even said it was an electric chainsaw.
Okay.
And then they put her head in soup with mushrooms and carrots, so all of her flesh
What
boiled
the
off.
fuck?
And she's telling me this in detail. That's when I sat on her lap and I told her, I was like, you're gonna need to tell me, like, go tell me a really positive story after that one, please.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, for whatever reason, she says she doesn't like violence. She says she doesn't like, any kind of physical nature.
Mm-hmm.
And then she puts these like thought processes in her mind that it's like, bro, like,
I can't say that is so.
It's scary.
I'm not a. I would never hurt a fly.
Yeah.
Anyways, play. And so then we ripped the flesh off of his bones. Like, what?
There was literally, she's like, there was no flesh on. It was just a skull in a pot. In a pot. I was.